You're listening to The Bible Guys, a podcast where a couple of friends talk about the Bible in fun and practical ways.
Hey, everybody.
Wow, you sound excited today, Chris.
Yeah, well, you know what, Jeff? Today's Thursday, and Thursdays are awesome.
Are they awesome?
Yeah, so are Wednesdays, and so are Fridays.
Every day you're on this side of the dirt. It's pretty awesome.
That's what people say.
Yeah, that's what I hear.
Yep.
Okay. Well, hey, we have a super exciting one that is segment that is designed uniquely and specially for you.
And it seems like I've been tagged long time ago.
As the movie buff.
As the movie buff, because I do like movies.
You love
and
movies.
People know it. And so
it's 10:41 in the morning. Have you already watched the movie today?
Yes.
Okay, then.
I've already watched the movie.
I wonder who the movie buff is here.
You've not watched the movie today?
I haven't even turned a screen on today except my phone.
So actually, I'm pretty guilty of an incredible amount of screen time actually this last 24 hours for me.
Oh, yeah.
But it's not me sitting at home.
Well, you're not guilty. It's what you've done.
Yeah, and it's actually just on my phone.
Yeah.
But I play it in the background.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yeah, well, background for me is elevator music usually.
Okay.
Yeah.
For real?
I'll listen to jazz. I'll listen to classical music in the background.
Huh.
Yeah, a lot of times.
So I see how my phone has a little. If you're watching, you can see my phone has a prop up here.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so this is a confession. So actually, I propped this up on a shelf in the shower.
So you can watch a movie?
Yes, as I'm taking a shower.
Oh, no.
That's what I did.
Not me.
And guess what I watched this morning?
I'm making plans for the day in the shower usually.
Guess what I watched this morning?
What's it?
The musical Hairspray with Zac Efron.
I can imagine. Good for you. There's some things you shouldn't tell the world.
Good morning, Baltimore.
Okay.
Yep, that's what it was. That's what I felt like.
You're so weird.
That's what I felt like listening to today.
You are so weird. Okay, here we go.
Yep.
So this one is, can Chris determine the Disney film based on each 8-word description?
Okay.
So I'm going to give you 8 words,
Yep.
and you have to tell us the title.
Oh, pressure.
And they're Disney, so you're going to get every one of these, and they're pretty easy. For instance, Queen orders stepdaughter's murder, stepdaughter befriends small men.
Snow White.
And the
Seven Dwarfs.
Thank you. Puppy befriends, but later hunts a wild vulpine.
The Fox and the Hound.
There you go. Zach Braff and Joan Cusack avoid falling sky.
Chicken Little.
There you go. Old woman's felines are left in Butler's hands.
Old woman's felines. Ooh, this was almost a tricky one. I was almost going to say 101 Dalmatians, but it's the Aristocrats.
That's yeah.
Aristocats.
Aristocats.
Yes.
That's right. King's brother murders king and drives away prince.
What? Say it again.
King's brother murders king and drives away prince.
Oh, the Lion King. I wasn't thinking animals.
Yeah, that was a good one though.
Yeah.
Mice save orphan girl from wicked kidnapper woman.
A kidnapper woman. The Rescuers Part 1.
The Rescuers. There you go.
Yeah.
Wolf raised orphan refuses to join human community.
Jungle Book.
There you go.
Wolf raised orphan.
That's
it?
right. That's right. That was it.
Oh, those
now
were...
I get to determine how many points you get for this.
Well,
I'm going to give you.
By the way, thank you, Desiree, because those were great. Sort of the main ones.
Yeah.
I was waiting for a bed knobs and broomsticks one.
So I get to determine how many points are awarded. I should have done this ahead of time.
Yeah, but
I'm going to give 1,000,000 points per correct question.
What?
We're going to help you catch up a little bit. So you just got 8 million points.
Jeff,
it may be the most generous thing I've ever done for you, Chris.
Sometimes I only do 1,000 points.
I know. That's what I'm saying. So we're catching you up.
8 million points?
8 million points.
I can never
Or 7
lose.
is 7 million points.
Why? What do you mean?
Well, because there's only 7 questions.
I thought you said there was 8.
I know. I messed up. It's 7.
Okay. Hey,
But 7 million.
But I can never lose my points now.
Well, you could, because you don't know what's coming next as far as points.
Okay. Oh.
But I don't know that I've ever been more generous to you than in this moment.
I agree.
Have I ever given you 7 million anything else?
It's nothing.
Yeah. So that's what I'm saying. Wow. So congratulations, Chris.
Thank you.
I'm feeling super benevolent today.
I feel like I can retire and go to the Bahamas.
Right? Okay.
Yes. Holy cow. Feels like a retiring moment.
Yeah. Well, usually after fighting a war, you want to retire. And speaking of wars, Judah had to fight a war.
Yes.
Yeah.
Wow, that is...
with Moab, Ammon, and Edom.
Yes. And
not places you'd necessarily want to retire to.
No, not at all.
Yes.
Holy Christmas. Have you ever been in that area?
Yeah.
That's not a good area.
I've been, so that's mostly all Jordan. It's beautiful to me. I love it. It's just very, very rugged.
Oh, yeah. It's beautiful to look at.
But very rugged.
In your air-conditioned bus.
Yes, it is. we were in a car, but yeah. Yeah, but it's very, very rough.
Yes.
Very, very rugged. It takes rugged people to survive there, I think. Very difficult. So anyways, here we are in 2 Chronicles chapter 20. And Jehoshaphat is the king of the southern half of the people, of the Israelites, specifically Judah and Benjamin, the large southern half. It says, after this, right, after he'd set up all this good political system and good judging and stuff like that. After this, the armies of the Moabites, the Ammonites, and some of the Meunites declared war on Jehoshaphat. The note here says the ancient version reads Aram, right? So just seems like Aram.
Okay.
Or Ammonites. It's a repeat of the Ammonites. I don't know.
Or you mean Aramites?
Well, that'd be whatever. Well, I'm just reading the notes in the thing.
Okay.
So messengers came and told Jehoshaphat, a vast army from Edom is marching against you from beyond the Dead Sea. They are already at Hazazon Tamar, and this is another name for En-Gedi. Well, I wish we would have just said En-Gedi, because I can say that one easier.
Right.
Jehoshaphat was terrified by this news and begged the Lord for guidance. He also ordered everyone in Judah to begin fasting, so people from all the towns of Judah came to Jerusalem to seek the Lord's help. Jehoshaphat stood before the community of Judah and Jerusalem in front of the new courtyard at the temple of the Lord. He prayed, O Lord, God of our ancestors, you alone are the God who is in heaven. You are ruler of all the kingdoms of the earth. You are powerful and mighty. No one can stand against you. O our God, did you not drive out those who lived in this land when your people Israel arrived? And did you not give this land forever to the descendants of your friend Abraham? Your people settled here and built this temple to honor your name. They said, whenever we are faced with calamity such as war, plague, or famine, we can come to stand in your presence before this temple where your name is honored. And we can cry out to you to save us, and you will hear us and rescue us. And now see what the armies of Ammon, Moab, and Mount Seir are doing. You would not let our ancestors invade those nations when Israel left Egypt, so they went around them and did not destroy them. Now see how they reward us. For they have come to throw us out of your land, which you gave us as an inheritance. O our God, won't you stop them? We are powerless against this mighty army that is about to attack us. We do not know what to do, but we are looking to you for help. As all the men of Judah stood before the Lord with their little ones, wives, and children, the Spirit of the Lord came upon one of the men standing there. His name was Jehaziel, son of Zechariah, son of Benaiah, son of Jael, son of Mattaniah, a Levite, who was a descendant of Asaph. Good. I'm glad it pointed out because I wasn't sure which Jehaziel it was talking about.
Glad we had clarity on that one.
It matters. He's a descendant of Asaph. Asaph was one of David's writers, music writers. So you see in the book of Psalms, it'd be a psalm of Asaph.
Yes.
That's the Asaph it's talking about. So just showing he's a famous family.
Right.
Anyways, I'm sorry about that. He said, listen, all you people of Judah and Jerusalem, listen, King Jehoshaphat, this is what the Lord says. Do not be afraid. Don't be discouraged by this mighty army, for the battle is not yours, but God's. Tomorrow march out against them. You'll find them coming up through the ascent of Ziz at the end of the valley that opens into the wilderness of Jeruel. But you will not need even to fight. Take your positions, then stand still and watch the Lord's victory. He is with you, O people of Judah and Jerusalem. Do not be afraid or discouraged. Go out against them tomorrow, for the Lord is with you. Then King Jehoshaphat bowed low with his face to the ground, and all the people of Judah and Jerusalem did the same, worshiping the Lord. And then the Levites from the clans of Kohath and Korah stood to praise the Lord, the God of Israel, with a very loud shout. Early the next morning, the army of Judah went out into the wilderness of Tekoa. On the way, Jehoshaphat stopped and said, listen to me, all you people of Judah and Jerusalem. Believe in the Lord your God, and you will be able to stand firm. Believe in his prophets, and you will succeed. After consulting the people, the king appointed singers to walk ahead of the army, singing to the Lord and praising him for his holy splendor. And this is what they sang: give thanks to the Lord. His faithful love endures forever. At that very moment, they began to sing and give praise. The Lord caused the armies of Ammon, Moab, and Mount Seir to start fighting among themselves. The armies of Moab and Ammon turned against their allies from Mount Seir and killed every one of them. After they destroyed the army of Seir, they began attacking each other. So when the army of Judah arrived at the lookout point in the wilderness, all they saw were dead bodies lying on the ground as far as they could see. Not a single one of the enemy had escaped. King Jehoshaphat and his men went out to gather the plunder. They found vast amounts of equipment and clothing and other valuables, more than they could carry. There was so much plunder that it took them 3 days just to collect it all. On the fourth day, they gathered in the Valley of Blessing, which got its name that day because the people praised and thanked the Lord there. It is still called the Valley of Blessing today. Then all the men returned to Jerusalem with Jehoshaphat leading them, overjoyed that the Lord had given them victory over their enemies. They marched into Jerusalem to the music of harps and lyres and trumpets, and they proceeded to the temple of the Lord. And when all the surrounding kingdoms heard that the Lord himself had fought against the enemies of Israel, the fear of God came over them. So Jehoshaphat's kingdom was at peace, for his God had given him rest on every side.
This perhaps is one of the greatest miracle battle victories
Phenomenal.
ever.
Yeah, this is up there with Jericho.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It really is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and Gideon.
And Gideon.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, Gideon, remember, they also did sort of the same thing. They just broke their lanterns and shouted the sword of the Lord of Gideon, and they appeared to be 300,000 men.
Right.
And so then what ended up happening was everybody in the valley actually like threw their swords on each other, remember?
Yeah.
And they took themselves out. Only in this case, they didn't have to do lamps or night times or shouting or horns or anything.
Yeah, right.
All they had to do was go to God, and God said, tell you what, I got it covered. You didn't have to lift a finger. And all they did was literally sing and then marched over the hill to find them dead.
Right.
Because God had caused them to quarrel with one another.
Well, he had them take their positions.
Yeah, that's right.
They took their positions.
Then sang.
Then they sang, and then they marched over the hill.
But in terms of
Plundered
fighting, nothing.
Nothing.
So they sang, and they're singing and give thanks to the Lord. His faithful love endures forever. Didn't Chris Tomlin take that and write a song? He took that phrase from this passage and write a song.
Mm-hmm.
That's where he got the phrase,
Give
right?
thanks to the Lord, his faithful love endures forever.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
I think that's a Chris Tomlin song. In fact, I think I was there when he introduced the song.
I think it's a Jehaziel song, but yeah.
Well,
or Asaph song.
He rewrote it.
Yeah. Oh.
He gave it new.
He took credit.
Melody.
Copyrighted it.
No. He gave
No,
credit
I'm
the whole
joking.
time.
I'm joking.
Nothing's new under the sun.
Yeah,
Jeff.
that's right.
But this is just an incredible thing, and by the way, you and I, we can't even imagine living under fear of armies attacking, and I understand that America isn't invincible,
Right.
You know, we were attacked in our own land the first time ever. We remember it, right? And so 9/11. So we're not in what am I looking for?
Invincible.
Yeah, I was impenetrable. Anyway, impervious. I'm not sure what word I was actually searching for, but in other parts of the world, they know exactly this fear.
War is a regular part of their, or in some places, I was, where was I? Oh, I was with my friend Cujo, and Cujo was talking about this, the country next to where we were in Gabon. Country next to us, Central African Republic, and then right below that was the Democratic Republic of Congo. He said now there are 25-year-olds and 30-year-olds that have never known anything but war. Their whole life, it was always only war. From the day they were born until now, always only war. Can you imagine that?
No.
It's just war.
That's it.
There's always the danger, and in those countries, you have to get up and grow your food. You have to raise your animals. So you're going through everyday life with the threat that your village is the next village that's going to get overrun or burned down and everybody murdered. But you have to go through life, but there's always this underlying fear.
Yeah.
And that's the kind of world that they lived in.
Yeah.
Right? Very warring kingdoms all the time was consistently a part of it. So a part of their existence. Yeah. And you and I we don't really have much of a concept of that, do we?
Did you ever see Star Trek?
Yes, I have.
Where Worf, the Klingon, he has a saying, and he goes, "Perhaps today is a good day to die." Right? I always feel that way whenever I watch small territories that are always threatened with war. Like, in fact, I'm sort of glancing through or breezing through this Horizon with Kevin Costner. It's this. It tells the stories of the
Western expansion.
Yeah. And here they are. They're just in the middle of the open lands, and all of a sudden the Indians come in, and that's really what it's about, right? And these Indians, at any given day, there's like this settlement, and then at any given day, the settlement can be wiped out, and everybody dies. Right? As they wake up every day thinking today might be the day. And as I'm watching this old, series that Kevin Costner created, that's the feeling. And it's like, ugh. Well, I think of that when I read this passage, because it says, he's totally scared, and here comes this vast army, and they realize it's too much for them, and no matter how strong and fortified they are, they know without God's help they're toast. So they say to the people, fast, and then all of a sudden it says that all the people are fasting. So my mind immediately goes to, the woman who is running her household with her 3 kids, and she gets up and she says, "Okay, guys, today we're going to fast, and we're going to go to God, and we're going to pray, because we've been told that we may get overrun and we may die today." Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
It's just a crazy mentality.
Yeah.
And so that's why, the nation goes to, it says that they're standing in front of the temple, not just him, but everybody. Right? The whole nation. So they just, we realize how big the temple is, how grand it is, how many people can go to it. And so as a whole nation, you're going there. And then here's Jehoshaphat leading the prayer.
And what an eloquent prayer.
Oh, man. It's beautiful.
You can tell when somebody spends time with God in prayer.
Yeah.
The way they pray.
Yes.
Really, yeah. It's such a fabulous prayer. So there's a note here that says, when faced with disaster, Jehoshaphat called upon the people to get serious with God. By going without food, fasting. That's what fasting is. Just letting God know, hey, I'm really serious. For a designated time. And by separating themselves from the daily routine of food preparation and eating, they could devote that extra time to considering their sin and praying to God for help. Hunger pangs would reinforce their penitence and remind them of their weakness and their dependence on God. Fasting is still helpful today as we seek God. So when you're really wanting to get serious, that's the very first thing he did is, hey, you're not earning some kind of extra answer from God here. All you're doing is saying, God, I'm really serious about this, right? This is a big deal to me, that it's more important to me than food. It's more important to me than my normal daily routine. This is more important to me than my own comfort. That's all you're doing, is you're kind of ringing the bell, saying, this is a big deal to me, God, I need your help, right? And it's appropriate, especially when you're coming up against what looks like insurmountable odds, right? You're looking like you're coming into a bad time. And so then he leads them in this prayer. And the note for 20 verse 6 says, he committed the situation to God, acknowledged only God could save the nation. He sought God's favor because his people were God's people. He acknowledged God's sovereignty over the current situation. He praised God's glory and took comfort in his promises. He professed complete dependence on God, not himself, for deliverance. To be God's kind of leader today, follow Jehoshaphat's example. Focus entirely on God's power rather than your own.
Yeah, and that's awesome.
Now, this is the only time this ever happened in Jehoshaphat's life. Jehoshaphat's gone to war before. Right? He's gone to war before.
Right.
So it's likely he also prayed these kind of prayers before. But he strapped on his armor, he put on his sword, he got in his chariot, and he went out to fight. Right? But this time God goes, stand back. Right? And watch this.
Watch this.
Watch this. Right?
Yeah.
It's pretty cool. Do you know why? Do you know why God said watch this? Do you know why God intervened on this one and didn't intervene on the others in this way?
I don't think I do.
Jehoshaphat kind of calls him out a little bit and says, when we were coming into our promised land, you told us not to fight these people. So had we would have wiped them out too, just like we did the Philistines, just like we did, right? That's what he's saying. But you told us not to, so we went around them. So this one's on you, not us. And God goes, watch this, right? So there's times when God doesn't completely do a thing in your life because he has a plan for the future to demonstrate not only for you, but for everybody else. Because it says all the nations went, whoa, God fights for these people. It had been a while since God had fought for the people. God fought for them for Moses, and it was clear. Everybody knew God fought for them. God fought for them with Joshua.
Oh, yeah.
And there was a time people went, oh, yeah, God fights for the people of Israel. God fought for them with Samson and Gideon, and there were these during the Judges. It was clear during David's time, God fought for them. Then you have a couple hundred years here where it's pretty much just people running amok. But Jehoshaphat is trying hard to follow God. He's not perfect at it. We already know that. But he's trying hard to follow after God. And God goes, okay, this is why I saved the Moabites and the Ammonites and the people from Mount Jeriel is right here for this moment. We're going to send a message to the whole world. I fight for my people.
Yeah. And it probably speaks into Jehoshaphat's faith, because he sees that they're coming down. He sees that they're a great army, and he's trying to calculate his odds. I mean, this is a guy he's a pretty smart guy.
Yeah.
Right? He's a cunning warrior.
Yeah.
He's a leader. And so he's calculating all the moves, and he's thinking to himself, I know the history. I know the promises of God to Abraham. I know what God did, and I know what God told us to do. And so he goes to God saying, like, wait a minute, why would this unfold? And I think the reason why it's unfolding is because it's, you know what it reminds me of? Daniel in Daniel chapter 6. When they signed the decree.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And they said, don't pray. And God's like, or Daniel's like, okay. He's like, why in the world would this just randomly happen? Where it's like they're specifically saying, whatever you do, don't pray. When everybody knows I open my window and pray. Right? And so he's like, so God's allowing this thing. And only God can solve this problem, but it is really clear that this decree is against me. So I'm going to open up my windows, and I'm going to face Jerusalem like I had before, and I'm going to pray 3 times a day, as I always have, because clearly God is going to intervene this, because this is too much of a coincidence, right? Like this decree has come against me, and I'm not violating my prayer to God.
Right.
And it almost seems like that's Jehoshaphat's position. He's like, wait a minute. He's like, you told us to go around, right?
Right.
And then it's by no coincidence that they're coming to us. You know what this is? This is a God thing.
Right.
Like you want us to sit back and witness what you're going to do. So God, you need to take care of this.
Right.
Right. That's
only you can.
Only you can.
And he's kind of acknowledging, maybe God, you were doing something else. Then that's why you did this, right? And so whatever it is, we need you to do it because we can't do it now.
Yeah.
They have the ability to wipe us out, and it's 3 armies against 1.
Right.
So they have the ability to wipe us out, and God just says, okay, stand back and watch.
That's great.
And I love that. So he worships God. God's faithful love endures forever. Give thanks. By the way, thankfulness for what you currently have, I believe, is an incredibly powerful. Paul talks about thankfulness. So many of the areas when it comes to prayer or looking for God's guidance, God always leads us to this point of thankful. If you can't be thankful for where you're currently at, then a lot of times I just don't see unthankful people have a lot of big breakthroughs or victories in their life. And so it's one of those moments where they're going, God, we're grateful for you. We are thankful to you for what you have done, and we're trusting that you're going to do something else because your faithful love is going to endure beyond whatever happens in this next moment. And then God's like, all right, here we go. And he wipes them out. And what an absurd victory, right? They kill each other. Israel never even lifts a sword. And then Israel goes in and takes what's not there. They didn't have to do any work for this one. And so I've seen a lot of the success in my life from hard work. I felt like I scratched and clawed and tried to get what I can get, right? I do my part as best I can. I try to honor God. But then there have been times in my life when I just stand back and go, how did that happen?
Right.
And then just take the plunder, the thing you didn't even do the work for, right? And God does that. He doesn't do it the whole time. Judah already was prosperous because the 3 kings leading up to Jehoshaphat moderately followed or completely followed the Lord. Jehoshaphat follows the Lord. They have prosperity in the south just because they're following the Lord, but they also had battles. Israel didn't have, in the northern, they didn't have a lot of prosperity because they were not following God. So they had to fight their battles, and they did hard work. They invested well, they managed well, they did all the things you have to do in society well, and they were prosperous. But on this one, God said, I've been holding this extra special thing back, and you're the one that's going to get it, right? And he just dumped it on them, and they go out for 3 days collecting the plunder.
Yeah, which is...
That's not too bad.
Yeah, that's not too bad.
That's a pretty good 3 days worth of work. And so what do? They still came back into the temple. The band strikes it up. They're just playing, celebrating what God did. They're still giving God credit, even when... Because sometimes I think we're tempted when we have a big win to take all the credit for the win.
Right. That's right. Hey, I got one last question before we sign off. And that is when you read the note that you'd read earlier from the Life Application Study Bible, where it says hunger pains would reinforce their penitence and remind them. My only question is, did you think of Raiders of the Lost Ark, the Holy
Penitence? Grail? No, I didn't.
You didn't?
I didn't, no.
Yeah. Do you know what I'm referring to?
With the,
Can you quote the line?
No, I can't.
Only the penitent man shall pass.
Yes.
Remember?
Yes.
Yeah, and then he says, kneel before God.
Yeah. And he drops to his knees.
That's right.
Top of his head. Yep.
All right, he's with me. All right, I'm glad I'm not by myself. Hey, that looks like it's our time for today, and we will see you next time on The Bible Guys.